Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Am I standing between us and the cocktail, or there's other sessions after this? Okay, good afternoon, colleagues, industry colleagues. My name is Thelma Kganakga. Kganakga. I'm South African. I've been in Kenya for 2 years and 4 months. So it's been an interesting journey being part of the East Africa and Central Africa operations. So today, I think in the last 2 days, we've been covering quite a lot around cyber and what's happening. And then the key thing now is to say, with all of these things that we are doing, I mean, I've been in the cybersecurity industry for 20 years. So I've seen the evolution of how the industry and the threat landscape has been evolving. How many of you were there in 2004 doing cyber when we first, our biggest worry around 2004 was a SESAWEM. When security started making headlines on TVs and everywhere else, how many of you were there? I'm counting 4, 5. So you can imagine where we're coming from. A worm was our biggest worry at that time. So if you look at how the industry has evolved, so where do I point? Okay. All right. Okay. So if you look at where the industry has gone, we're dealing with a lot of highly evolved type of attacks right now, right? And also, why is it important? So why do we have to care so much about cybersecurity? So what I've done, I've just added some few examples of why do we have to care so much about cybersecurity. So just some examples, if you remember what has happened, if you look at globally, there's been quite a number of attacks that have happened across the globe, right? If you remember what happened at the Microsoft, you look at the Royal Mail, I mean, these are all the latest ones, right? You look at the International Criminal Crime Court, the ICC. And then if you look at the Industrial Commercial Bank of China, there's different ones where these are really the ones that have made the headlines. But you can imagine, these are just the ones that make the headlines that we know of, right? There's quite a number of them. And also remember, as organizations, again, you don't go out there and report when you have security incidents. So you can imagine just these ones. It just paints the picture for you that we are dealing with a really serious situation around cyber. But it's not it is scary, but there are solutions for it, which is what we'll just talk about it just now. One of the other things, if you look at also from a cost perspective, just the ransomware alone, just some examples, if you remember these ones, you can look at the amount and how much it is required. I'm not going to go through into detail because I think we've covered quite a bit of these in the last 2 days, right? But you can just look at the type of requests that are happening with ransomwares. So again, organizations, let's take this example here where Caesars casinos, they requested 30 million in ransom. They decided to pay half. And then the MGM didn't pay and opted to try and recover, right? And you can imagine, look at the recovery process. It took that long, and in that period, you lose that amount of money. That's a lot of money, 100 million. And again, it's their estimate. And then of which 10 million was to try and recover. So even the cost of cyber and the cost to the organizations is really dire in this situation. And then if you look at also the regulatory fines. So regulation is here, it's part of us, right? We can't escape it. And then if you look at just some examples where the demands and the penalties and the fines is quite hefty on organizations. And these are just brief summary of them. I mean, they are everywhere in India, Canada. So almost all countries, they do have data protection rules. So that require for you to make sure that you have proper cyber defenses. Then I'm not going to go through into detail as well. These are just some of the trends and the predictions. You can see already that the cybercrime is estimated to grow by another 5.7 trillion between now and up to 2028. You can see the estimated data breaches that I've shared. You can look at the estimated life cycle of a breach. That is 277 days. So in a situation like this, where it will take you, that long to detect an adversary and also recover from and contain that. Again, we're looking at the evolving threat landscape. Right now, we are dealing with nation-state type of attacks. And again, we are also excited about AI as well, but look at some of the risks and how AI can also be deployed to launch cyber attacks. We're dealing with, we can have automated disinformation, deepfakes, data privacy issues, algorithmic manipulations, and so forth. So again, so these are just the predictions that says from an industry perspective, this is where the lay of the land is going. Some of the other predictions from a security defenses perspective, there's more increased focus on generative AI and machine learning. I'm sure we've touched on it also, some of the presenters. So again, you can see it's myriad of different types of defenses, but how do we pull it together, right? So that as an organization, how do you respond? Because we've looked at it, so there's different parts and different pieces. Even how do you prioritize? Where do you start, right? And we talk about the concept of cyber resilience. And the ultimate goal of cyber resilience is to make sure that you have a resilient and adaptable cybersecurity system that can withstand, right, and recover from unforeseen challenges. And really, that's what you want to be able to do. So I've put together some of the things that I think, if you can, as an organization, if you can focus on these things, that will also help you and guide you in terms of where you can focus. So I'll start with this one, right? So you need to implement adaptive and business-led cybersecurity strategies, right? What does that mean? You need to be more proactive and intelligence-driven strategies that will give you that added advantage to be able to anticipate. Because what you want to do now, you want to be able to anticipate the adversaries. So that's why you want to, so that you can mitigate any potential damage that can happen. Again, also key, you need to do a thorough risk assessment to identify potential vulnerabilities in your environment. And importantly, this one, because now everybody's moving to digital transformation, right? So you need to make sure that you adopt secure by design principles in everything, in all your solutions, in all your products, is very important. So normally what we've seen, you get security to come and test the products at the end. By that time, that's why they always call us that we are blockers of business, and we are not necessarily blockers. So if you can start and work with your business from the onset, as they're designing, as they're building, and by the time they test, then there's not a lot that you need to fix. And then you are able to then, support your business and become an enabler, right? And then again, also, I want to move this side, right? Adopt an intelligence-led approach to cybersecurity. So right now, there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of platforms, intelligent platforms that you can adopt. I'm sure some of the service providers have spoken about those, where you need to use the threat intelligence platforms that are available that can give you real-time data for you to be able to anticipate and understand an attacker's tactics and techniques. And then you can be able to adopt. One of the other things that I find more and more important is around relying more on indicators of attack and not just on indicators of compromise only, because right now we talk a lot about living off the land type of attacks. So with this kind of indicators of attack type solutions that can be able to detect those kind of attacks and give you that real-time capability to be able to support your organization. Then I'll come back here. So make use of advanced tools. Like I'm saying, leverage of the advanced detection and response capabilities. They are there. Ensure that the security technologies also that you are deploying, when you are choosing technologies, you need to ask them for their roadmaps, their advancement roadmaps, so that you can be able to see that the technology you are supporting is able to adapt as the world adapts as well. So be mindful of that, so that you can review their product life cycle, and then it can give you that comfort that you are selecting a technology partner that will walk the journey with you. Another thing, where possible, outsource to manage detection and threat hunting capabilities. Right? Because that gives you, those guys are on the clock 24/7. So they'll be able to search for adversaries, they'll be able to do thorough monitoring in real time, and again, that will give you that added advantage. One of the other things that I find a lot of organizations, we battle with just basic IT hygiene checks, right? So we need to just practice that. Be friends with the CIOs or IT operations. Have that collaborative relationship between yourselves and them as the security practitioners. Because a lot of the things we are talking about here, we don't do the implementation itself. We don't deploy patches, right? It's the IT operations guys, is the developers that need to make sure that when they develop, they use proper secure coding practices. So that collaboration is very important with the guys that actually need to do the work. And then we talk a lot now about cyber security, but then I think it's important still to blend physical and cyber security, because the perpetrators know that our focus is on the system. And then they can also, on the physical security, they can still go in. So we have next solutions and things like that. So it's important that you don't forget the physical aspect of your resilience. And then we're seeing that AI is an automation. They are revolutionizing security access or physical access. So you need to think about adopting such kind of technologies. And then we talk a lot about zero trust. This is important because it will ensure that every access request, irrespective of where it's coming from, is really scrutinized and authenticated properly. So so we need to really focus around building this whole model. I know there's different ways and different variations, but if you get the right partners, you can be able to achieve that. And then make an effort to understand your attack surface, both internally and externally, so that it allows you to deploy your security architectures properly. I always say to my security teams that you need to know what you are protecting. If you don't know, how are you saying you are adding value? So you have to know, even if the CMDB does not work or the asset management solution doesn't work, it is our prerogative for us to know and find those solutions. When you run your scans, you are able to discover assets that you didn't know they were there. You don't know who owns them. Unfortunately, that's where now the collaboration with your IT colleagues comes in, so that you can foster and get things right together. Otherwise, then it just adds another burden for your security teams to now try and do asset management, which is required for them to be able to effectively do their work. And then legal and compliance standards alignment. I think in everything we do, just make sure you ensure regulatory compliance, because that's still required. You saw the hefty fines that I showed earlier in the slides. That we need to focus on that as well. And then have a robust cybersecurity response strategy and plan. And test it regularly, do simulations. Be clear in terms of what happens when you have a priority 1 incident or have a priority 2 or 3 incident, the escalation metrics, who becomes part of your CSET, who do you notify, when do you notify, how do you, so it's very important that you have that robust security and at least test it twice a year. Sometimes even take some of the other incidents that you see happening in other areas and simulate that in your own environment and see if you'll be able to come out on the other side. And then build a cyber risk aware culture. We talk about security awareness a lot, but has it been effective? I don't know if any of you has it been effective? So look at that, because just rolling out training every quarter to people, they fail the test, and then you just do a tick box and says, I've done security awareness. How do you measure the results of your awareness? Because we need a cyber-aware team. You need a cyber-aware users, both your partners, contractors, everybody that touches your system. This needs to happen, because one thing, just that one click, it can sink you. So it's important that we continue focusing on security awareness and look at the different platforms that are there that can give you the different flavors and the different ways of how you can do. Make it fun also. Use gamification if you have to, right? And then importantly, as the security practitioners, educate yourself and educate your board as well. Because they are your support structure. They are the ones that will support your security program and what you are trying to achieve for the organization. And also for yourself, we've got lots of communities and security groups. There's lots of material around how you can at least make sure that continuously you educate yourself, you do the training, learn a new thing every day or at least once a week. Right? Try to do that so that you are able to educate yourself, because you are now the one that is tasked and championed to drive cyber resilience. So it's important that you also educate yourself and keep abreast of what's happening. Industry collaboration. So this is more now from your own organization. As an industry, we need to collaborate. There's a lot of markets where they formed their CSETs, they formed the security committees made up of banks. I know in South Africa we have those kind of communities, here in Kenya as well. But I think we can elevate it a little bit more to get the government involved as well, because this is one fight for all of us. So that industry collaboration with government is important so that we can protect our critical infrastructures. And then budget right for cybersecurity. This one becomes a pain a lot of the times, because you need to be able to structure how you want to, the capabilities you want and the money, because the CFO, all he just sees a big bill, but then they are not able to understand the value. So translate that to the value. So budget right, there's no cost linked to the secureness of your organization. You just need to focus on doing things and doing the right things. So I think in a nutshell, these are just some of my learnings based on my experience and based on where I see the world is going, that if you really can have a proper approach as to how you're gonna lead an intelligent-led cybersecurity, that I think will help you to go in a long way and future-proof your security operations. So you don't have to do it alone. I think that's the real message. There's capabilities out there, there's partners out there, there's different teams. Provide training for them, because also the talent pool is another challenge that we are facing. Train your current people, send them on training, get them, create centers of excellence where you can actually take, the students and then take them through the different partners of the security providers, and then create center of excellence and create your own talent pool that you can use, and then we can really fight this fight together. So in a nutshell, that was my 10 minutes. Yeah, thank you.